The story kicks off with our poor excuse for a hero, Ein, standing at the edge of a cliff, bleeding, broken, and ready to call it quits. He's staring down at the endless drop like it's the best offer he's ever had in life. In his head, he's blaming himself for being too weak, too useless, and too unlucky to have been born in this miserable world. Honestly, the guy's had a rough time. But even he admits that throwing himself off the edge feels like the only thing he might actually succeed at. As he falls, he wonders if his life ever meant anything. He thinks about how everyone treated him like trash, and maybe they were right, because in the end, trash belongs in the dump. It's a grim way to go, but you can't say the man didn't commit to the bit. Now, let's rewind a bit. Before Ein took that dramatic dive, we see him in the middle of what's supposed to be an adventure. His party, if you can call it that, is fighting a massive rat monster. One of them, a swordsman with the patience of a toddler, is hacking away at the thing while the team's mage, Jolene, is still chanting her spell like she's rehearsing for a school play. When she finally finishes, she launches a fireball so over the top that it turns the rat into extra crispy barbecue. The swordsman, Zoid, who's got the personality of a rock, calls out to the trash picker of the group to finish the job. And who is that? Yep, our boy Ein. He tries to remind them that he actually has a name, but fate and gravity aren't on his side. He trips and eats dirt right in front of everyone. His teammates laugh like it's the funniest thing they've seen all week, which says a lot about their sense of humor. Jolene, being the kind and thoughtful teammate she is, says they should pity him instead, because trash picker isn't exactly a glamorous job. It's not even mid-tier. In this world, people are born with jobs given by the goddess of light, and those jobs determine how miserable or privileged your life will be. The elite get the rare jobs, the lucky ones get high common jobs like sword fighters and mages, and then there's the bottom of the barrel, low common jobs like farmers, cleaners, and, well, appraisers. Guess which one I got? He's what the system kindly calls an appraiser, which basically means he pokes at monster corpses to see how valuable they are. It's like being the guy who digs through the trash to find recyclable bottles, just with more blood and less dignity. Jobs are passed down through families, but Ein had it even worse. His parents died when he was young, leaving him with no family trade to inherit. So, in a brilliant stroke of optimism, he decided to become an adventurer. He dreamed of treasure, fame, and maybe a bit of respect. Instead, he got dirt, bruises, and a lifetime subscription to public humiliation. Back to the job at hand. Ein uses his appraisal skill on the dead rat and finds out it's basically worthless, ranked F- or something close. Still, he notices that one of its fangs has a rare D rating. That's like finding a slightly less rotten apple in a pile of garbage. He tries to pull it out, but fails miserably. When he asks Zoid for help, the guy acts like Ein just asked him to lick the rat instead. Jolene jumps in to remind Ein that handling trash is the trash picker's job. What a lovely group of people. When Ein tries to defend himself, Zoid chucks a rock at him for good measure. The guy's got anger issues and terrible aim, but gets the point across. Ein ends up on the ground while his teammates stand over him, reminding him how lucky he is to even be here. Because clearly, being verbally abused and unpaid is a privilege. He gets up, mutters an apology, and goes back to work because what else can he do? This world isn't fair, and it especially hates people like him. As he digs through monster guts looking for scraps, his party keeps making jokes at his expense. Jolene looks disgusted, Zoid keeps calling him trash boy, and Ein just keeps digging. Then, things actually start looking up, or at least Zoid thinks so. He spots the body of a hellhound lying nearby, and his eyes light up like he just found a chest full of gold. He tells Ein to check it out, even though the poor guy points out that this creature isn't supposed to be in this area at all. The guild's intel clearly says there should only be one hellhound in this dungeon. But Zoid, as always, waves off logic and tells him to just do your job. Ein does the scan anyway and finds that the hellhound's parts are a B-rank rarity. Finally, something decent. He starts collecting materials while Zoid and Jolene are already planning how they'll spend the money that he's earning for them. That's teamwork, right? But then, Zoid spots another hellhound in the distance and orders Ein to go appraise that one too. Ein freezes. He's not a genius, but even he knows this isn't normal. 2 hellhounds in a single corridor? Yeah, something's definitely wrong. He tells Zoid they should leave, but the guy couldn't care less. According to him, the map must just be wrong. Brilliant deduction from a man who probably failed geography. Ein insists again, and Zoid finally snaps. He threatens to fire him, as if losing this job wouldn't actually improve Ein's life. But here's the catch. No one else would hire someone with such a useless class. In this world, once you're labeled a failure, that's it. You stay one. So, even though he knows this is a disaster waiting to happen, Ein swallows his pride, keeps quiet, and follows his idiotic teammates straight into danger. Because when your only skill is appraising dead monsters, even bad company is better than starving alone. Ein was furious. Though honestly, fury doesn't change much when you're the weakest guy in the room. Deep down, he knew the truth. Life just doesn't play fair, especially for people like him. But Zoid, oh, he's having the time of his life. The guy practically skips with joy when they stumble upon a pile of dead hellhounds. That should have been a massive red flag. But of course, Zoid's brain operates strictly on greed, not logic. Ein, being the only one with 2 working brain cells, immediately feels uneasy. Something powerful enough to kill this many high-level monsters shouldn't be taken lightly. If other adventurers had been here, their loot would have been gone already. But no, Zoid doesn't care. Thinking isn't really his hobby. He waves off the concern like it's background noise. Then things go from weird to oh crap, when several living hellhounds appear, growling and ready to shred them all to ribbons.
You're trespassing on my property!
That's when it finally hits the geniuses. They're in serious danger. Ein, ever the observant one, pieces together that the beasts were probably fighting over territory or food. Jolene, who until now was all talk, immediately panics. She admits they can't even handle one of these things, let alone a pack. Their brilliant plan? Run. Which, considering their track record, might actually be their smartest idea so far. But Zoid's mind works in mysterious and stupid ways. Instead of helping his team flee, he comes up with a plan so evil it could make Satan sigh in disbelief. He gives Jolene a wicked grin and tells her to paralyze Ein. At first, Ein thinks it's some kind of sick joke. Nope, Zoid's dead serious. Ein's eyes go wide as he realizes what they're planning. Jolene, ever the loyal snake, apologizes as if that makes it better, and casts her spell anyway. In seconds, Ein's body locks up. He can't move, can't fight, can't even scream properly. She tells him not to worry, that if he's lucky, the paralysis might wear off before the hellhounds rip him apart. How thoughtful. Then Zoid, showing all the compassion of a brick wall, steps on Ein's chest and smirks at the approaching pack. Dinner's served, he says, because apparently betrayal and bad puns go hand in hand. The monsters snarl, and Ein can only stare helplessly as his so-called teammates wave goodbye and run off like the cowards they are.
Why are you running?
Ein tries to shout, to beg, but all that comes out is a pathetic croak. The hellhounds leap, claws and fangs flashing, and the pain is so blinding that it snaps him out of paralysis. Lucky break, if he can call being eaten alive lucky. He throws his bag in desperation, and all the apples he'd been carrying spill out. Somehow, the bees stop to chow down, buying on a precious few seconds to limp away like a half-dead marathon runner. Bleeding and barely conscious, he stumbles toward the dungeon exit, only to realize it's been sealed off. His beloved party trapped him inside to make sure he wouldn't ruin their getaway. Truly, peak human behavior. But just when all hope seems lost, he notices another corridor. Salvation? Not quite. It's a dead end, and the growls behind him make it clear that the pack is closing in fast. Ein lets out a broken laugh. What a choice. Fall off a cliff and die, or stay here and get torn apart. Honestly, it's hard to say which is worse. As he stands there, surrounded by death, he thinks about everything that led him here. His pathetic job, his useless skill, his wasted dreams. He tried so hard to be more than the trash picker, but life just kept reminding him where he belonged. But then something shifts. For the first time, Ein stops blaming the world and starts blaming himself. He realizes he's been hiding behind excuses, blaming his job, his luck, his party, when the truth is, he gave up long ago. He let them treat him like dirt because he believed he was dirt. It's a brutal realization, and it's too late to do anything about it. With a bitter smile, Ein steps toward the edge. If I'm garbage, he mutters, then I'll die like garbage. And with that, he takes the plunge, the same fall we saw at the start. When he wakes up again, it's not in hell, though it probably should be. Instead, he's lying in a strange, peaceful place. A mysterious woman leans over him and presses a kiss to his forehead, like some divine CPR.
Oh my god! Wow!
And then vanishes. When Ein blinks awake, he's completely healed. No wounds, no pain, just confusion. He gets up and looks around, completely baffled by the sight before him. A massive, shimmering tree surrounded by walls of water that look like they're holding back the ocean itself. Out of habit, he uses his appraisal skill on a droplet that falls from above, and nearly faints at the result. It's from the world tree. He checks again, because surely he's hallucinating. But no, it's the real deal. The actual world tree, the mythical source of all mana. According to legend, the world once had one great tree that produced the magic energy everyone breathes in daily. When it withered away, scholars argued for centuries about how mana still existed. Some claim there must be more hidden trees out there, but nobody ever found one. Because, well, who would think to look at the bottom of a random dungeon? Apparently, fate decided to drop Ein in the one place no sane person would ever find. For once, luck's on his side. He thanks the tree for saving his life, because who else is going to listen? But then hears a faint voice whisper nearby. He looks around, nothing. Maybe the trauma is finally catching up to him. With no monsters in sight, and zero chance his friends will come looking for him, Ein realizes he's on his own. No food, no plan, and no clue what's waiting deeper in. Still, he bows to the tree one last time and heads out. Unbeknownst to him, the same mysterious woman who saved him reappears, quietly watching over him with concern. As Ein trudges forward, it hits him that this is uncharted territory, literally off the guild's maps. That means there could be monsters even worse than those hellhounds. But at this point, he's got nothing left to lose. His near-death experience lit something in him, a tiny flame of resolve. He vows not to limit himself anymore, no matter how pathetic his start was. Armed with nothing but a rock, because of course he is, he walks deeper into the dungeon. It's eerily quiet. No monsters, no danger, just silence. For a second, he dares to hope this might actually be his lucky break. Then reality slaps him, hard. Out of nowhere, something slices off his ear. The pain is instant and unbearable. He stumbles, clutching his head, and before he can even curse, another invisible strike takes his fingers clean off. Pure panic sets in. Ein uses his appraisal skill out of reflex, and the result freezes him in horror. S-Rank Gremlin. The gremlin moves faster than his eyes can follow, cutting into him again. Ein realizes the cruel irony. Knowing what's killing you doesn't make you any more capable of surviving it. The gremlin lunges in to finish Ein off, and honestly, that should have been the end. But suddenly, the creature freezes mid-swing. It starts trembling like it just saw its worst nightmare. Ein stares, utterly confused, as this unstoppable killing machine gets crushed into paste by something even worse. Before he can blink, the ground shakes and a massive beast emerges, an S-rank death bear. Yep, because apparently one death sentence wasn't dramatic enough. The monster towers over Ein, then casually swipes a claw straight across his face, ripping out one of his eyes like it's peeling an orange. Ein screams, but there's no point. The bear grabs him like a toy and starts squeezing the life out of him. At this point, our boy just gives up. He's tired, broken, and one-eyed. Not exactly the recipe for survival. But right when it seems over, someone intervenes. Out of nowhere, a boy appears, young, annoyed, and definitely not happy about being here. He grumbles something about a certain girl, begging him to help this idiot, and then casually obliterates the death bear like it's nothing. Ein, half dead and half confused, tries to say something heroic, but instead he just passes out. When he wakes up again, everything's different. He's back near that same mysterious world tree, and somehow, his ruined eye has been replaced. No blood, no pain, he's completely healed. For a guy who's been beaten, bitten, and betrayed non-stop, this is basically a miracle. Then he sees her, the mysterious girl from before. And just like that, he forgets how to breathe. She's stunning, almost too perfect, like she stepped out of fairy tale. Ein, the guy who spent most of his life covered in monster guts, is so starstruck he just sits there staring like a lovesick fool. She smiles at him, and it's over. Man's officially down bad. But before he can even say thank you, an older woman's voice cuts through the peace like thunder. She scolds him for not drinking the tea her precious daughter made. Ein's so distracted by the girl that he didn't even notice the cup in front of him. The old lady's having none of it. She orders him to drink it now. He takes a sip, and thankfully, it's actually delicious. He compliments the tea, which makes a girl, whose ears twitch adorably, beam with happiness. Of course, this only makes Mama Bear over there furious. She glares at Ein and warns him that if he so much as thinks anything indecent about her daughter, she'll erase him from existence. You know, casual conversation. Turns out, the cranky grandma's name is Ursula. And yes, she's the one who saved Ein. Not because she wanted to though. According to her, she doesn't waste her time on lower life forms like him. The only reason Ein's even breathing is because her daughter, Yuri, begged her to help. Ursula clearly has the same personality as Sandpaper. But hey, credit where it's due, she saved his life. Ein tries to thank Yuri, which makes her blush. But that just sets Ursula off again. She demands that he grovel properly and show real gratitude. So, Ein does what Ein always does. He kneels down like a kicked puppy and thanks her sincerely. Yuri loves it. Ursula hates it. The old woman nearly explodes when he casually says her name instead of using some fancy title. As the chaos settles, Ein finally puts two and two together. Ursula isn't just some overprotective mom. She's actually the guardian of the world tree. She explains that there are 9 of these sacred trees scattered across the world, each with a guardian whose job is to protect them and keep them thriving. She's been stationed here ever since this tree first took root, which, judging by her personality, must have been a very long time ago. And then realizes something. She keeps referring to Yuri in a strange way, like she's not just her daughter. That's when Ursula drops the bombshell. Yuri is the world tree, or more precisely, the will of the world tree, its spirit made flesh. Ein, already amazed by her beauty, now learns she's basically a divine being. No wonder he can't stop staring. Yuri gets flustered by his compliments, which, of course, sends Ursula into another rage spiral. She yells at Ein to keep his filthy mortal hands to himself and reminds him that she didn't give him a new eye just so he could ogle her daughter. Ein's like, wait, new eye? Right. The last time he checked, that thing was shredded. Ursula explains that while droplets from the world tree can heal wounds, they can't exactly regrow a crushed eyeball. So, to fix him, she and Yuri did something extraordinary. They used part of the world tree itself to create an artificial spirit eye. That's right. Ein's now walking around with a literal magic eyeball made of divine wood. Not bad for a guy who used to be called Trash Picker. Ein, still dazed, asks why they go so far for him. Yuri explains softly that it's because he thanked her when they first met. Apparently, that single moment of gratitude meant everything to her. Ursula adds that every now and then, people do fall into this abyss, but none have ever shown Yuri any kindness. Most of them, upon discovering she's the world tree, immediately start tearing off leaves and branches to sell. So yeah, I'm being polite was a rare event in history. Hearing this, Ein thanks Yuri again, and she basically melts on the spot. Ursula can't take it anymore and declares that they're done saving him. It's time for him to leave. But Yuri protests. She's worried that if Ein tries to climb out, he'll just die again. Ursula rolls her eyes. She clearly doesn't care whether he lives or dies. But Yuri insists there must be another way. Ursula sighs and explains that as a guardian, she can't stray too far from the tree, meaning she can't personally escort Ein out. And to make things worse, teleportation magic doesn't even work in this dungeon. Basically, they're stuck. Yuri's eyes fill with tears, which finally cracks Ursula's iron heart. She hates the idea, but seeing her daughter that sad is apparently too much. So, she begrudgingly turns to Ein and makes a decision, a horrifying one for him. She points her staff right at his face and says, "Fine, I'll train him myself." Ein blinks. "Wait, what?" Ursula grins, and not the friendly kind. "You want to leave this place alive? Then you'll do it with your own strength." Ein is stunned. After everything, the betrayal, the beatings, the monster buffet, he might actually get a second chance. He bows deeply, thanking both women. Ursula, of course, immediately yells at him for sounding too casual again. She then declares that from this day forward, he'll be trained personally by the most powerful mage in existence, her. And if he slacks off even a little, she'll make sure he regrets being born. Ein nods nervously. As they start walking deeper into the abyss, Ein can't help but wonder if training just means she's about to throw him into a monster pit and watch what happens. Ursula doesn't deny it. She just smirks. And for once, Ein realizes he might actually have a future, if he survives her methods. That is, Ursula doesn't waste a second. She tells Ein that starting off with slow, theoretical lessons would take forever. By the time he learned anything, he'd be an old man with a cane. So nope, no time for books or naps. They're going straight into survival mode. They stop in front of what looks like total darkness, and Ursula tells him to look closely. Ein squints but sees absolutely nothing, just black. Ursula immediately calls him an idiot, and reminds him that his left eye was literally replaced with a piece of the world tree. You'd think he'd notice something special, right? But Ein admits he doesn't see any difference. Ursula rolls her eyes and explains that it's not the eye, it's him. He just lacks awareness. So Ein takes a deep breath and really thinks about it. How he lost that eye, how he fell into the abyss, and how Yuri, the world tree spirit, gifted him this new one. Everything he sees from now on, he owes to her. And as he's thinking all that heartfelt stuff, his eye suddenly starts glowing warm. When he opens his eyes again, the darkness is gone, and they're standing in a completely new place. Ursula smirks. Good. It's finally time to start your training. Before I can even ask what kind of training, Ursula wakes up a monster. And not just any monster. It's the same type that nearly killed him before. Great start, huh? She says for step 1, he'll need to dodge all of its attacks. I can't believe what he's hearing. Dodge an S-rank monster? With what reflexes? But Ursula reminds him he has the power of appraisal. Yeah, but appraisal is only good for reading enemy info, not surviving claws through the face. Ursula calls him a foolish child, and says that appraising with a spirit eye is on a whole other level. So Ein gives it a try. He activates appraisal, and suddenly, text pops into his mind. The monster will use its scythe to cut off your right ear. Ein's like, wait, what? And then, slice. His right ear's gone. Painfully accurate, literally. As he screams in pain, Ursula explains that a spirit eye can appraise more than just stats. It can predict an opponent's moves. And since the monster did exactly what appraisal said it would, she's thrilled. Ein, not so much. But hey, Ursula's prepared. She uses world tree droplets to heal him up like new. She tells him not to hold back. No matter how bad it gets, she can heal him instantly. So they go again. This time, appraisal warns that the monster's going for his left leg. Ein realizes he can't dodge it normally, unless he figures out when it's going to strike. Then it hits him. He's got a spirit eye, not a human one. He can see things humans can't. He focuses hard, and boom, his appraisal gives a timer. Attack will land in 5 seconds. Ein starts counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and dodge. For the first time, he successfully avoids an S-rank monster's attack. He's ecstatic. He just did the impossible. He turns to Ursula to celebrate. But of course, While he's distracted, the monster slashes him again. Ursula just nods, saying, "Pain is the best teacher." After countless cuts, dodges, and healing sessions, a week passes. I've gotten much better at using appraisal in combat, though he still gets overconfident and pays the price. Ursula's secretly proud though. She finally says he's past the first stage. Time for level 2. This time, he's not dodging, he's fighting. His task, defeat the gremlin. Ein panics, reminding her that he doesn't even have a combat class. Ursula waves that off. You won't be relying on skills. You'll rely on your spirit eye. Then she hands him a wooden sword. Except this isn't any normal piece of wood. It's crafted from the world tree itself. Yuri actually snapped off one of her own branches just to give him this. Ursula's genuinely touched for once, and tells him he better not break it. Or else. Ein, completely moved, thanks Yuri from the bottom of his heart. But before he can even admire the sword properly, boom, the monster attacks again. Ein activates appraisal and gets ready. He tries to wait for the perfect timing to strike, but he swings too slow and misses. Ursula just calls him slow and refuses to help. So he tries again, this time, holding his sword out where the monster will move. But that fails too, because the monster dodges. Ein realizes, duh, it's a living thing with a brain. It's not just going to stand there and get hit. Until Ursula finally gives him a hint. Moves aren't the only thing his spirit eye can read. He thinks hard, and notices that appraisal can also reveal the trajectory of attacks. That's when he remembers something. Instead of using regular appraisal, he needs to use his spirit eye's full power. So he activates super appraisal. Everything freezes. The monster's movements slow down to a crawl, almost like time itself has stopped. Ein realizes he's seeing the monster's attack in slow motion while he's still moving at normal speed. He grins, raises his sword, and bam, one clean strike. The gremlin drops instantly. Ein can't believe it. He just one-shot an S-rank monster. For the first time in his life, he actually defeated something. And not just any something. An S-rank beast that once terrified him. It's a huge moment for him. The weak appraiser who was once treated like garbage is finally becoming someone strong enough to stand on his own. After celebrating too early again, Ursula scolds Ein for what feels like the millionth time. She tells him not to get too cocky. That tiny win was nothing. For the next part of his training, he's got to defeat every single gremlin in the area. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, Yuri quietly worries about how he's doing. Time skips a bit, and when we return, our boy has seriously leveled up. Ein's confidence is up, his movements are sharper, and every gremlin in sight, flattened. Ursula can't believe it. He actually cleared them all. Now, it's time for the next challenge. And this one sounds completely insane. Ein has to appraise a gremlin's ability and make it his own. He's like, wait, I can do what now? Ursula explains that while humans usually learn skills through experience or teaching, monsters are born with innate abilities, things you can't normally copy. Ein's confident about the appraisal part, but taking abilities? That's a different story. Ursula calls him a silly child and breaks it down. Appraisal is all about reading your opponent's data. You gain knowledge from it, sure, but now that he's got a spirit eye, he can do more than just understand that information. He can absorb it. So Ein gives it a shot. He uses appraisal on one of the dead gremlins nearby, and instantly regrets it. The moment he does, it feels like his brain is being crushed. He screams in pain, describing it as information being pounded straight into his skull. After the agony settles, he wonders if it worked. Ursula tells him to try it out. So he runs forward, and suddenly, he's moving at insane speed.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Lightning fast. The only problem? His body can't handle it. Every muscle fiber in his body tears apart at once. Ursula just nods, totally unfazed. Yep, as expected. She heals him up instantly, and tells him to keep running. Apparently, he's not just supposed to use his legs. He's supposed to move with his entire body. And as she explains, muscle fibers get stronger every time they tear. So, he just needs to repeat that process a few 100,000 times. Until one day, something changes. His muscles stop tearing. His body is finally adapted. He's stronger, faster, and his physique has become flexible and solid. Even his voice sounds deeper now. There's a new confidence in him. He smiles, thinking, maybe I'm finally ready to take down that death bear. Ursula quickly humbles him. Don't get ahead of yourself, kid. You've still got a long way to go. He's a little crushed, but she actually decides to do something unexpected, help him even more. With a reluctant sigh, she says she'll let him appraise her ability next. Ein's eyes go wide. Ursula's abilities? Those have got to be insane. She doesn't even give him time to react. Watch carefully, she says. A flash of light. And before he even realizes it, the spell's already cast. Did you catch that? She asks. Of course, he didn't. Ursula smirks and explains. The move she just used is called Discard Incantation, a magic ability that lets her cast spells without speaking. No incantations, no chanting. She just thinks it, and boom. Fireball. She tells Ein to hurry up and appraise it while she does it again. So he focuses hard, activates appraisal, and immediately screams as his body bursts into flames. Pain again. Classic training day with Ursula. After she heals him, he tries again and manages to successfully copy the discard incantation, though the fireball part still eludes him. 5 days of brutal trial and error later, Ein finally starts to get the hang of it. But because he's not a magic type by nature, his mana capacity is painfully low. Every time he runs out, he collapses. Thankfully, Yuri's there to help. She gives him droplets from the world tree, liquid miracles that not only restore mana, but also increase his total magic capacity. The catch: they only work when he's completely out of magic. So, naturally, Ursula forces him to burn through all of his mana before taking each droplet. This goes on for a month. A full month of casting until he drops, drinking a droplet, and repeating. By the end of it, Ein's a monster in his own right. He can fire off 1,000 fireballs at once, and even cast mid-level magic. With his new abilities, the gremlin's speed, Ursula's magic casting technique, his newly forged body, and his spirit eyes super appraise, Ein's finally confident enough to take on the next challenge. Ursula agrees. Alright, time for your rematch with the Death Bear. They head out to the spot where it all began. Ein's nervous, but Ursula assures him that he's stronger than before. Much stronger. In fact, she's actually annoyed at how fast he picked everything up. But if he uses everything he's learned, he'll win. Ein can't help but smile. Wow, you can be nice sometimes. Before he can say another word, she shoves him toward the battlefield. Ein takes a deep breath, stares down the Death Bear, and mutters, "I'm not the same weakling you fought before." The fight begins. Ein opens with a barrage of fireballs. And sure, his aim is still garbage, but Ursula notes that at least he's creating a decent smokescreen. Using his insane speed, he circles around the beast, activates super appraise, and slows the world around him. He launches a powerful windstorm spell that tears into the bear's flesh, dealing massive damage. The beast roars in rage. Ein quickly realizes that his magic, while flashy, isn't strong enough per hit. He's not a natural mage. So, precision becomes everything. He's got to hit hard and accurately. He braces himself and unleashes his next move. 100-round fireball barrage. The entire area lights up as flames bombard the Death Bear non-stop. When the smoke clears, the monster actually collapses. Ein can't believe it. Was the Death Bear always this weak? He wonders. But no, it's not the bear. It's him. He's just that much stronger now. He uses appraise one last time on the fallen beast, and endures that familiar pain as he absorbs its abilities. Ursula smiles proudly. She won't say it out loud, but she's impressed. She tells Ein that his training is complete. The rest is up to him. To fight his way through the monsters and climb back to the surface. I can hardly believe it. After all that hellish training, he's finally done. Before leaving, he returns to say goodbye to Yuri and Ursula. Yuri, being her sweet self, wanted him to have a parting gift, though Ursula's clearly not happy about it. She reluctantly hands on the remainder of the World Tree's spirit core, the same core used to create his artificial eye. Ursula explains that she's going to make him a new artificial eye using the rest of that core. Ein hesitates. This core is the source of Yuri's power. Taking it feels wrong, but Ursula brushes it off. Don't get a big head, kid. You're only borrowing it. She adds that she's placed a spell on it. When Ein dies, the core will automatically return to Yuri. Ursula goes ahead and implants the spirit core into Ein's eye, but the guy doesn't feel anything. No power-up, no sudden glow, no, you're now overpowered message. Just nothing. Ursula tells him to chill because the true power of his new spirit god, I will one day make him cry tears of gratitude. Comforting, right? Ein looks around, trying to find Yuri to thank her, but surprise, Yuri pops up and says she's actually inside his eye now. Yep, she literally lives there. With the spirit core completely transplanted, it's basically like she's part of the world tree itself now. Ursula tells him to be grateful, because that means Yuri can heal him anytime and use as many world tree droplets as she wants. Basically, he's got a built-in healer in his eyeball. Ein, being Ein, asks if Ursula's really okay with this, and she immediately says no. She hates having to trust her precious daughter to some fool, but she admits she has her reasons. Yuri's only ever had her mother, no friends, and she's been lonely her whole life. So even if Ein's a bit of a dumbass, Ursula can tell he's got a good heart. She's decided to trust him, and orders him to show Yuri the world with that new shiny eye of his. That hits Ein right in the feels. He swears he'll take good care of Ursula's precious daughter. Moved by the gesture, Ursula decides to give him a parting gift, an infinite storage spell. All he has to do is will it, and he can store literally anything inside it. And to kick things off, she tells him to store a sword. One Yuri helped make using special materials. It's a spirit sword, and it's officially his now. Ein's touched by the gesture, but before he can even finish thanking her, Ursula says, "Oh wait, one more thing," and stabs him in the good eye. Yeah, just like that. Yuri freaks out and rushes to heal him, but Ursula's not done. She forces a philosopher's stone down his throat next. Ein's right, I changes. And Ursula explains that she's now established a permanent link with her consciousness. Meaning, she can see everything he does. Everything. She even warns him not to get too friendly with her daughter because, well, she'll be watching. Constantly. No pressure. With all that, it's finally time for Ein to head out. He asks Yuri what she'd like to do once they're free, and she softly says she wants to see the rest of her family, her sisters. Ursula explains that the world tree was once one massive tree, but its core and branches were split and sealed in different dungeons across the world. So technically, all the sisters are alive, just separated. Ein immediately decides that their next mission is to find them all, and Yuri can't thank him enough. Their adventure begins, and not even 10 steps out the door, Ursula's voice rings in his head. She tells him to go left. She's already appraised the entire dungeon layout, so as long as he follows the arrow she left, he won't get lost. Oh, and there's a monster viper nearby, so he better warm up. Ein's new spirit god shows him everything. Enemy positions, weak points, even routes, and he's honestly stunned by how powerful it's become. Ursula's voice in his other eye gives him live commentary, basically turning him into a walking cheat code. Moments later, he slices up the viper like it's nothing. An S-rank monster, gone in seconds. Ursula's already appraised its abilities and tells Ein he's gained venom resistance and a new skill, dissolving venom, which can melt basically anything. Ein's surprised he didn't feel the usual information headache this time, and Yuri proudly says she's healed that too. No more screaming in pain whenever he learns something new. Talk about quality of life improvement. He thanks Yuri, which of course makes her blush so hard she practically short circuits. Then he keeps going until he reaches a massive door. Ursula explains this is where the dungeon boss is, and gives him a crash course in dungeon biology. Dungeons, she says, are living beings that feed on humans, powered by a beating heart called the labyrinth core. To protect that heart, they spawn boss monsters. Unless the boss is defeated, the exit stays sealed forever. And yeah, dungeon bosses are on a whole different level. Ein gulps, realizing that even though he can easily handle S-rank monsters now, this will be way worse. But Yuri and Ursula both pep him up, one with kindness, the other with insults, and he regains his confidence. He's not that same loser who used to pick up trash waiting to die. He's Ein, the appraiser blessed by the world tree. He walks through the door and finds the dungeon's heart, right before a massive boss monster appears. He tells Yuri to hop back in his eye for safety, and Ursula immediately warns him the thing's about to attack. The boss's first move? A giant meteor-like smash that obliterates the floor around him. Ein braces himself with his superhuman strength, and somehow survives. Though his clothes are shredded and his body's wrecked. Yuri heals him mid-fight as he tanks hit after hit. The old Ein would have been terrified, but not anymore. With a roar, he pushes the monster's arm back, and unleashes his new dissolving venom. The boss's arm melts clean off, but it's still swinging with the other one like a psycho. Ursula realizes they're out of time, and tells Ein to use the ultimate spell she taught him, the ultimate tears spell. Ein hesitates for half a second. The boss charges. Ein plants his feet and shouts, too late, before unleashing his Nova Strike. A colossal explosion of fire engulfs the entire chamber, vaporizing the monster in one blast. When the flames fade, Ein's left standing, barely, staring at the smoking crater where the boss used to be. He's completely stunned that he actually won. Yuri bursts out cheering, immediately healing him as he laughs in disbelief. After everything, the pain, the training, the stabbing, and the babysitting, he's finally conquered the dungeon. Ein doesn't take all the glory for himself. The man knows he wouldn't have made it this far without help. So the first thing he does is thank Yuri. Of course, Ursula immediately hates how cute they're getting and snaps. Alright, lovebirds, enough of that. Appraise the boss already. Ein obeys, using his spirit god Eye on the fallen golem, and the results are insane. He gains a pile of new abilities at once. But Ursula isn't done flexing her teacher mode yet. She tells him he can even appraise the labyrinth core itself. Ein hesitates, asking what'll happen if he does that, when suddenly Ursula just teleports right next to him. Apparently, since his left eye is basically the world tree now, she can teleport straight to him anytime she wants. You know, like the most terrifying FaceTime feature imaginable. She explains that the labyrinth core is similar to the spirit core, and she can actually use it to make his eye stronger. Ein's jaw drops. His eye is already busted enough to break game balance, but Ursula says it can evolve even further. So, naturally, Ein says, yes please, power me up. Ursula implants the labyrinth core, and boom, his spirit god levels up to version 2. She explains that if he keeps defeating dungeon bosses and absorbing more labyrinth cores, he can upgrade it to even crazier heights. Basically, he's on the I version of a New Game Plus. When they finally find the exit, the door shuts behind them, sealing the route completely. Ursula explains that since the labyrinth core has been taken, the path to the world tree is now gone too. Even the hole Ein originally fell through is sealed, meaning no one else will ever reach that world tree again. Yuri will finally get to live in peace. Both girls sigh in relief, and just like that, it's time to return to the surface. Meanwhile, somewhere else Zoid, yes, that Zoid, is putting on the performance of his lifetime. He's in the middle of a tavern, telling everyone the tragic tale of the dungeon he barely escaped from. He warns them all to stay far, far away because it's overrun with hellhounds, and no man could survive such horror. The crowd eats it up, and he milks it for all it's worth. He pretends to choke up, saying it would have been impossible to escape if not for the brave Ein, who nobly sacrificed himself so everyone else could live. The other adventurers, who only knew Ein as that weird guy who picked up trash, are stunned. But Zoid just doubles down, slamming his fist on the table, calling Ein a true hero who acted as a human shield. It's all lies, of course, but Zoid's really committing to the bit. He keeps the fake tears flowing, apologizing to Ein's memory, vowing that his sacrifice will never be forgotten. And right on cue, Ein himself walks through the door. The entire tavern goes silent. Zoid freezes mid-sob. Ein just looks at him and casually asks what he's talking about. Everyone stares as Ein explains he literally just walked out of the dungeon after beating up everything that got in his way. Zoid, of course, refuses to believe it. He insists that no one could have survived the monsters he saw down there. But everyone else is too busy asking why Zoid isn't happy his friend is alive. That's when Ein drops the truth bomb. He tells them that Zoid and his crew paralyzed him and left him as bait for the hellhounds. The room goes dead quiet before everyone immediately turns on Zoid, beating the life out of him for betraying someone. But in a twist no one saw coming, Ein actually stops them. He says it's fine. What's done is done. At least they're both alive. He even thanks Zoid. Everyone's jaws hit the floor. The man literally thanks the guy who abandoned him to die. But I means it. Because if Zoid hadn't left him, he never would have met Yuri and Ursula. That betrayal ended up changing his life. It's a moment of crazy emotional maturity that leaves the whole tavern in stunned silence. People start whispering, wondering if this is even the same Ein who used to be the town's punching bag. Time skips a bit, and we find out Ein's still on his grind. After defeating another dungeon boss near the capital, his eye evolved again. Now, he can literally read any writing. Unfortunately, that dungeon didn't have a world tree, so it's off to the next one. Ursula explains that finding them won't be easy. The world trees are the lifeblood of the world. Ein apologizes to Yuri for the long journey ahead, but she smiles and says she doesn't mind. They've got all the time in the world. Then, mid-conversation, they hear a scream for help nearby. Ein dashes over and absolutely wipes out every monster in the area, snagging a few more abilities along the way because of course he does. The girl he saves immediately latches onto him, calling him her hero, while the man beside her introduces himself as Jasper, the head of a trading company. The girl, on the other hand, turns out to be Claudia, the third princess of the kingdom. Back at her estate, Claudia thanks Ein and his companions properly. Once all the introductions are done, she immediately tries to go back to hugging her hero, but Yuri steps in, blocking her path. Claudia is confused, Yuri's flustered, and after a long pause, Yuri blurts out, "I'm Ein's wife." Ein's eyes practically pop out of his head, but Claudia doesn't back down. She just smiles and says she'll be his second wife. Yuri's left speechless. Claudia shrugs it off, saying that in this day and age, it's not unusual for a man to have multiple wives. The two start bickering like rivals in a rom-com, while Ursula just watches proudly, saying she's glad her daughter is making friends so quickly. As the chaos unfolds, Jasper calmly steps in and drops his own bombshell. He wants to marry Ein too.
Why are you gay?
Ein's brain short-circuits again, but Jasper isn't joking. He explains that he's not just some merchant. He's the head of the Gino Company, one of the biggest guilds in the land. Their products are everywhere. He even leads them into a room filled with glittering gems and treasures, explaining that it's his life's mission to safeguard the jewels of this world. Jasper notices Ein's left eye glowing with that unmistakable aura, the spirit core, the very power of the world tree itself. His eyes widen, and he leans in, practically trembling with excitement. Naturally, he can't resist telling on the legend behind it. Long ago, the world tree towered above the ground, radiant and alive. But then disaster struck. The demon lord of calamity, Mikarin, tried to destroy the world, forcing the world tree to unleash all of its power to stop him. In the aftermath, the tree withered, leaving behind only its spirit cores. Those cores, Jasper explains, are incredibly rare and hold immense power. Jasper has been hunting for a spirit core his entire life. And now, seeing Ein with one in his eye, he drops the ultimate proposal. He wants Ein's hand in marriage.
I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
And of course, is internally screaming, "No, not today, buddy," and has zero interest in agreeing. But Ursula, ever the schemer, has her own plan. She sees the advantage immediately. Jasper has spent decades tracking spirit cores, and probably knows where the otherworld trees are hidden. If Ein marries him, she reasons, Jasper's wealth and intel could become their secret weapon. Ein politely, but firmly, declines the offer. He does, however, tell Jasper they can be friends, a compromise he can live with. Jasper nods and tells him he's welcome to stay in the mansion, only for the girls to immediately interrupt, hugging Ein like they just won the lottery. Jasper, ever the gentleman, doesn't complain. Instead, he drops the next bombshell. He has information on the remaining spirit cores. Naturally, he warns that they're hidden in extremely dangerous areas. Retrieving them will be nearly impossible. But Ein, he's already pumped, eyes blazing with determination. He insists he still wants to hear everything Jasper knows. Jasper can barely contain his shock. This boy, this so-called trash picker, might actually be capable of retrieving the spirit cores himself. Well, if that's the case, Jasper begins preparations immediately, clearly thinking that he just found the most overpowered ally imaginable. And that's where our recap ends, for now. Ein's journey isn't slowing down, and the hunt for the remaining spirit cores is about to begin. Thanks for sticking with the recap. Make sure to subscribe for more videos so you don't miss a single twist in Ein's adventure.